There's a brand new taxonomy filter widget in Elementor that lets you filter posts, WooCommerce products, or custom post types by things such as categories, tags, and so on. Even better, you can nest them and use multiple taxonomy filters. In the loop grid widget, the pagination is loaded based on Ajax. So whenever you visit a new page in the loop grid, the entire page won't be reloaded. Only the part of the loop grid will be reloaded using Ajax. And take a closer look at this menu element. As I shrink my screen size, previously the menu elements would be squished together. But if you take a closer look, when the screen size becomes really small, the menu elements are no longer squished, but rather you can enable horizontal scrolling to do that. And a lot of other interesting features in this tutorial. So we'll discuss 3 major updates: Elementor 3.15, 3.16, and 3.17 in this tutorial. Stick till the end to learn all the amazing stuff. Let's get into it. So I created a new page called Elementor Cool Stuff, and you can click on this settings cog. And by the way, this top bar is enabled using the advanced features. If you want to enable them, just go to Elementor dashboard, go to Elementor, click on features, and you can see editor top bar. I've just toggled on all the experiments and features. Anyway, so that's how I got the top bar. Now let's drag in. I'll click on this plus button. Let's search for loop grid widget. I'll click and drag it, and that'll also create a new container on this page. I'll choose a created loop grid, and this is my loop grid that I created long ago. When you go to pagination, you can click on this, and of course you can choose all these options, but now you also have load on click option and infinite scroll. So this will basically use Ajax, and when you pick infinite scroll, all the posts will be loaded based on the scrolling of the user. But let's pick this numbers plus previous one. Let's remove the page limit for now, and you can also select individual pagination. So if you have multiple loop grids or a loop grid and a post widget, all of them are individually loaded without having to affect others. So just select this option. So once you choose the pagination option from here, you can also pick the load type, starting with Elementor 3.17. Let's change it to Ajax. And there's another feature called auto scroll, which we'll get to in a bit. So I'll hit publish. I'll click on this preview icon to see all my changes. Now when you click on any of the page within the loop grid, the entire page won't be reloaded, only the loop grid is being reloaded. As you can see, my footer stays still, header stays still, only the loop grid elements are reloaded. And what about this option, which is auto scroll? So when you actually reload using Ajax, you can also mention an offset, and automatically page will be scrolled to that particular offset. So let's say I just give a 50 pixel offset here. Let's reload this cool stuff preview page. Now watch what happens when I click on 3. Right now, in order to click here, we have already scrolled to the bottom. And when I click on 3, it loads the third page and it scrolls to the top. That's because of this offset that we have given. If you say 100, that will change again. So I'll click on this preview icon again. Let's click 4, and just like that, the preview height also changes. See that? So after reloading, it will scroll to that particular offset. So that's what this setting means. The next big feature in Elementor Pro is the taxonomy filter. And by the way, I'm basically showing you all the features in both free and pro versions. So you can click on this plus button if you have enabled top bar, or click on the widgets button if you have the old interface. Let's search for filter, and this is the brand new widget called taxonomy filter, which can be used with loop grid. And this loop grid can be of any post type. It can be of posts. It can be of WooCommerce products as well. It can be of custom post types as well. It doesn't matter. And in order to enable that, again, go to WordPress dashboard, under Elementor settings, under features, you have to enable taxonomy filter. when you activate all these features, you also don't forget to click on Save Changes. And that's how you get the taxonomy filter if you don't see it there. Again, I'll click on the plus button, scroll all the way down, and this is our taxonomy filter. I'll click and drag it right above the loop grid. Well, nothing happens. On the left hand side, you can map this taxonomy filter to a loop grid on the page, and you can simply click that and it works automatically. Now it asks us to pick a taxonomy, and since this is a loop grid of posts, when I click on it, it shows the categories and tags, and for WooCommerce it will show the relevant taxonomies. So I'll click on categories for post. You can choose the direction of alignment, horizontal or vertical. You can also choose the alignment of the items, but I think center alignment looks better. You can click on settings for multiple options. You can enable multiple selection, but it will be confusing to user. So basically user can click on different categories or taxonomies and filter the posts. And when you choose multiple selection, you can do and or. So when you choose or, when you pick multiple categories, posts from either of the categories are shown. When you just pick and, only posts with multiple categories are shown. We'll enable that later. You can also choose to hide or show empty items, but there's no point in showing the empty items here. You can also show taxonomy children. So if you have subcategories within category, you can show them. It's totally up to you. And you can also choose to show or hide the first item. Well, if you hide the first item, how do you get all the posts? I'll get to that in a bit, but for now, let's enable the first item, and you can say all posts in here. And you can also select the number of taxonomies. You can say 5, and only 5 taxonomies are shown. In this case, 5 categories of the posts are shown, 6, totally up to you. And if you leave it blank, all the taxonomies are shown. And then you can enable horizontal scroll. As you can see, the extra taxonomies are pushed onto the next line. And when you enable this horizontal scroll, you can see the additional taxonomies can be seen by scrolling like so, horizontal scrolling. Totally up to you, but I'll disable it for now and I'll just pick 5 taxonomies for now. I'll hit on publish. I'll click on this eye icon to preview. So this is our taxonomy filter, and watch what happens when I click on this category. It shows the post from this category. And when I click on inspiration, it shows posts from inspiration. Now, remember, you can actually disable this first item. And how do you get all posts when you disable the first item? So I'll click on disable the first item. I'll publish this. And now we don't have all. So let's say I just click on this category or taxonomy, and posts from that category are shown. And when you click on the same taxonomy, it removes that filter. So that's how it works, right? So if I click on inspiration, it shows posts, or for WooCommerce, it will show products from that particular category. And when you click on it again, it removes that filter. That's how it works. But it's always a good idea to have this to make it really clear. And you can also enable horizontal scroll. But I think for tablet and mobile, you better enable horizontal scroll. I'll just disable it for now. Let's style our taxonomy filter widget a bit, like I showed you earlier in the preview of the tutorial. So I'll click on the taxonomy filter, go to advanced tab, scroll down, click on background. I'll have my primary color as the background. Don't worry, we'll fix the colors as well. And I'll click on layout, and let's give a 12 pixel padding. I think that padding looks better. You can also do 16, but I think 12 pixels looks really good. And let's also add a border radius to make this taxonomy filter a pill shaped. So you can click on border, and I think 48 pixel. That's perfect. You can just play with the border radius. 24 pixels looks something like that, but I'm going with 48 pixels. Totally up to you. Now I'll go to the style tab of the taxonomy filter, and on normal, Let's have our body text, or let's have a white color text to make it really clear. On hover, I'll pick my secondary color. And for active, you can pick your secondary color or accent color, totally up to you. But I'll pick accent, I think it looks good. Or you can just pick your secondary color, totally up to you. Anyway, so that's how you style your taxonomy filter. Hit publish and it looks beautiful right now. Here's the cool thing. You can actually use multiple taxonomy filters for a particular loop grid. So if I right click on it and click on duplicate, there's another taxonomy filter. I'll click on the second one. Now within taxonomy, I can have a different taxonomies. So the first filter was categories, and let's have a tags taxonomy in here, and it works in the same fashion. And of course, you can go to the second taxonomy filter and just pick all your options. Maybe for tags, you can enable multiple and let the logical combination be AND. For tags, publish. Now, if you go to this page, when you click on the first taxonomy, it filters that based on the first categories. And these are actually tags. So when I click on it, it filters it further using tags, right? Again, if I click on it, it shows all the posts. And if I click on this, it shows posts from all the categories. So you can have nesting within this, but there's a better way to do that. Now, instead of showing two filters like so, we can actually use nested tabs. And again, in order to see that, you have to enable nested elements within this Elementor features. Make sure you turn that on and click on Save Changes. So I'll use the nested tabs widget to put both these taxonomies. I'll click here. So those are my tabs. And within my first tab, I'll drag this first taxonomy filter. Within my second tab, I'll click and drag this taxonomy filter. I can actually remove the third tab now. I'll click on this. I can say browse by categories. And this tab title, I can change it to browse by tags. Cool. Again, let's style it a bit. Let's style the tabs. On hover, let's leave it at the default. I think everything else we can leave at the default. We have to add a 48 pixel border radius to the titles. So I'll click on titles. Okay. We added border radius there, and now they look pill shaped as well. So we have just nested our taxonomy filters into this, and we can use it in conjunction with the nested tabs. So it's really cool. Now, if you take a preview edit, so this is our, you can browse by categories or tags. And if I go one step into the tags, now if I go to categories, I can further filter that by using the category. As you can see, those tags and those categories are just one. Again, when I click on it, it resets the categories. And when I click on tags tab, and when I click on it, it resets all the tags, and you can also see all posts are highlighted. So that is the powerful taxonomy filter, and you can do some pretty amazing things with it. Let's move on to the next feature. Now, previously with your WordPress menus, they would behave something like this, right? So if I scale down my browser window like so, they would look good at until certain breakpoint, but at some particular point, the menu would get squished, something like that. It looks ugly and it takes up the space, and at some point it also turns into a hamburger menu. Of course, you can choose the width at which it turns into a hamburger menu and change the layout of the hamburger menu. But now in the latest Elementor versions, there's a better feature. If I go back to my Elementor page, and when I click on edit header, again, you have to enable the menu related features in the features section of Elementor and click on save changes. Anyway, now we're in the header section. I can actually click on the menu and go to the content section, click on additional settings. Now we have an option to enable horizontal scroll. Well, what does it do? It does what it says. It enables horizontal scroll per device, right? And there's another option called breakpoint. Now you can set it to none, so you'll never see the hamburger menu. All you'll see is this menu, and when the device size gets smaller, it'll automatically scroll horizontally. So let me just show that to you. I'll click on the preview icon. Now let me scale my window down. We don't have enough space for client 4 element. So it automatically becomes a scrollable list like so. If I make it even smaller, see that? Now these elements can be scrolled like that, and we never get to see the hamburger menu. So that's a really quite amazing, powerful design option if you want to use that. If you're not using the menu on mobile or tablet, at least you can enable horizontal scroll per device and it looks really good. At least on desktop, you can enable horizontal scroll and that would prevent the squishing of the menu. So that's a really good addition, and that's the third feature. You now have a brand new start rating widget. So I'll click on edit template within this loop grid. And let's say I just want to add ratings to all my WooCommerce products, or in this case, I'm just adding it to my posts. I can click on the plus button. Let's search for the star rating widget, and it's this one. I'll click and drag it, maybe around there. And now the rating scale can be up to 10, right? And the rating can be static or dynamic. You can link it to a custom field, but I'm gonna just do 8.5, something like that. And now you can pick your custom icon for the rating. I'll just search for rating, or let's search for star, and you can pick this smiley, or you can upload your own icons and use them. But anyway, I think this one looks better. I'll click on insert, and now ratings will be shown like so. And you can choose the alignment. You can go to style, and maybe for the selected colors, rating can be displayed in this color, and for unmarked, you can pick a dull color or maybe a gray color, totally up to you. And you can also increase the size. Let's do 32 pixel, so it looks something like that. And let's also add a 4 pixel spacing. 32 is too big, so 24, so something like that. So you can have ratings like that, and if I click on save and back, the ratings will be applied to all the posts within this loop grid. That's the brand new rating widget, which lets you pick a scale from 5 or 10. The scale can be anywhere between 5 or 10, and you can upload your own icons to the rating widget. So that's a cool feature. Next up, we have brand new accordion widget, which is again nested. In future, all the widgets will be nested and there'll be unlimited possibilities. Now, when you click and drag an accordion widget into your page, and when you click on every item, you just see this dialog box which says drag widgets here, meaning there can be literally anything within this accordion. So you can put a video if you want. You can put a template, a section, a complete loop inside each of the accordion item. I'll click on the plus button, and you can just put basically anything with unlimited design possibilities. In future, all the widgets will have this functionality, and Elementor is slowly adding it to one by one. It already added it to tab, and that's how we got this unlimited or the nested taxonomy filter, as you can see here. So in a similar way, the nested accordion works. And the next feature is carousel widgets. I'll just drag in loop carousel, and I'll use one of my predefined loops, which is the one which you already saw. So this was the loop. I'll click on the container. Let's add a bit of padding, maybe 48 pixels. Now you can set an offset to each of your carousels to generate interest. As of now, the other posts which are not in focus are not shown at all, and it's kind of plain. But if you want to show a bit of the post that comes next in the slides, you can do that. So click on the carousel, click on settings, and you can also do infinite scrolling. So when the end carousel is clicked, it'll come back to the first carousel. And you can also click on offset slides. You can set offset slides either on left direction, right direction, or both the directions. And now, in addition to the posts in focus, you also see a bit of left and right carousel posts as well. And you can adjust this width. So if you just want to show a bit of it, maybe around 70 pixels, just like that, you can give a little sneak peek of your carousels using this offset feature. It's a really cool feature. Next, if you enable grids, in addition to containers, containers are now active by default, starting with Elementor 3.16 and above. And if you activate grids, you'll also get a new grid widget, which will let you create grids by clicking like that. And now it creates a grid. You don't have to go to container and change it from Flexbox to grid. Of course, you can still do that. You can change the layout from Flexbox to grid, but you can directly create a grid like so by using the grid widget. So that's really handy. In addition to these features, there are a few performance improvements that will let you load your website faster and also make your website more accessible, such as making the accordion widget and the tabs widget more accessible. Of course, Elementor is still putting things in places for accessibility, but again, they're moving one step with each release. And that's a brief overview of 3.15, 16, and 17. Of course, 3.18 is on the horizon, and I'll make a tutorial on that. Let me know which is your favorite feature among all these features in these Elementor releases, and I'll see you in the next one.